Welcome to Water, the podcast. If you work in water, whether it's treatment, distribution, wastewater, or management, this podcast is for you. In each episode, you'll hear a unique story and gain fresh insight from a colleague inside the water industry. Here's your host, filmmaker and municipal operator, John Parsons. Enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the show. I have an amazing guest with me today. Here I have Craig Steve, who is the Regional Sales Manager for IXOM Water Services, or Watercare, should I say. So, yeah. Craig, I just want to welcome you to the podcast here, Water the Podcast. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm close to retirement here. I started doing this job about 7.5 years ago, and I didn't realize how critical water was to the general public and how big of an impact technology, chemicals, operators, communities have on their water supply in their communities, and how critical of an asset water is for communities, both metropolitan and rural areas of America. It's a huge part of the lifeblood of America.
Well, it's fantastic to have you on the podcast here, Craig. I've heard you speak a couple of times here, and I've always enjoyed you. You seem like you've got a little bit of knowledge, a good bit of knowledge to impart, and I think that's something that whenever we listen to a speaker, we want to listen to somebody that knows something, and I feel like you do know something. And not only that, you've got some absolutely fantastic products here to talk about. So I'm hoping you can talk to us about those as well, and especially this MIEX resin situation. That sounds absolutely fascinating. So I'm hoping you can tell us a little bit about that. But I'm just really excited to get you before you retire, because this is cool. So tell us just a little bit, Steve, Craig, sorry, in the beginning, tell us just a little bit how you got into the water industry. What was how did you get into this business?
Well, it's kind of strange. So I had my second business I had sold, and I was too young to retire, and so I knew the original owners of what they used to call the Medora Corporation, which was originally founded in Dickinson, North Dakota, and they were the forefathers of the solar powered mixer, the SB 10,000s and 5,000s and 2,500s. Those solar powered mixers were designed, invented, and manufactured in the city of Dickinson. So that company was called Medora Corporation. So I reached out to them and I said, "Do you have some need for somebody to chase parts or sweep the floors or something along that line?" And so it developed into a part-time sales position, which evolved into a full-time position. So in the meantime, they developed a lot of products. Some of the primary products that they developed was got into the potable water mixing part of the business, and they developed GS9, GS12, and GS12 Air, which those mixtures in themselves, if you crisscross North Dakota, South Dakota, Wyoming, Montana, as well as all the states in the United States, excluding Alaska, and we were in several countries in the nation. We put those mixers, those potable water mixers. They're not solar powered ones, but they're the electric powered ones. We have those in the drinking water tanks that you see across the United States. If you see a tank, chances are about 25% chance there's a mixture of ours in those tanks. We probably get 50 to 60% of the market, but there's a lot of tanks out there that need mixers in them. Primary reason that you want to get a mixer in your tank is because there's a huge amount of stratification, biofilm buildup, disinfecting boost, disinfecting byproducts, degeneration in the tanks in itself. And so by mixing, you get better water. And so that's our theory behind that. We also, over the years, we developed an AP series, which would be our AP air powered. That's what the AP stands for. Mixers that go into different applications, primarily non-drinking water, say lift stations, wastewater treatment plants, equalization basins of that nature. In fact, we have a number of the larger AP series mixers we have in frack water down in Texas. So you find the application, generally there's a need out there for something to mix water in, and we were able to fix that problem and do that problem. So that's kind of the core of it. And then it's going on 5 years ago, and here in about a week, we got purchased by a company called IXOM Watercare. They're based out of Melbourne, Australia. And they came to the owners, which was Willie Charmashi and Joel Bless at that time. They expressed interest in purchasing the company, so they negotiated a sale of the company. And they primarily were looking for the infrastructure that existed with what they called at that time the Medora Corporation, which now is called the IXOM Watercare. They were looking for the infrastructure which we had, which was a sales force across the United States, Canada, and the distributor network that we had, as well as the sales and service people that we had that crisscrossed the United States. And so they came to us, and the primary thing that we gained from them is the fact that we could sell this MyX resin. And that's a resin that's magnetic charge that when it comes in contact with source water that has organics in it, that the magnetic charge in there and the negative charges of the organics, that the organics attach to the resin itself. And I always compare it similar to the water softeners. You know, if you're familiar with the water softener, how that works, where the water percolates through the system. So we've got water percolating through vessels as it flows through the organics and the water is removed through the resin, and then we regenerate that resin. So that's kind of the primary focus of our equipment that we do sell. MyX is a great opportunity. We're seeing more and more quality of source water going downhill. I don't know what that is, if we're just getting more organics in the water by some means or reason, but we're seeing more organics showing up in source water.
Yeah, that seems very, very. I mean, when you showed it to me, I've seen you've showed me these these resin particles a couple of times, and I'm just fascinated by them. What intrigued me about it, I mean, clearly it seems to be, what is it? MEX stands for magnetic ion exchange, and it seems to be that this is a primarily, I'm guessing, for surface water, more than groundwater, I would assume, although. Am I right? Is that pretty much who's using this?
That's correct, because it's primarily surface water, say Lake Kakawea, Missouri River.
Right.
There's some rivers out in Montana that we've got some units out there, and because you've got that organic that get into the surface water. Now we've got one application down in Wyoming. I'm not sure what we're going to do, but they have a high amount of THMs, which are because when we put disinfectant into chlorine or chloramine into source water that has a lot of organics in it, creates the THMs, which are cancer-causing carcinogens.
Yeah, these trihalomethanes, they call them, don't they?
Yes. And so anyway, we're seeing we've got one application down in Wyoming. I have no idea where it's going to go. I'm not going to be around long enough to see the end of that. But they've got a well there that's got showing up with a lot of organics in, and so then they're getting the trihalomethanes in their source water. And so if you can treat that source water if you can remove the organics before it gets to the water plant, before you put the disinfectant in, you're not going to have your high levels of THMs. And so you're supposed to, anything over 80 parts, you have to report, the government, the EPA requires you to report that to the general public. And so you don't want to be on that list that you're reporting to the general public.
Yeah, I'm kind of intrigued. This seems pretty high tech. I mean, I see that, Craig, this takes out PFAS and PFOS compounds as well, which is, I mean, that's kind of very cutting edge at the moment, because I don't think even the federal government has decided exactly what levels they're going to deal with this at. But clearly, this is something that we're all going to have to deal with going forward.
Yeah, that's so true. We can remove the PFAS or PFAS or whatever you want to call it. We can remove it. Here's the dynamics behind that. we haven't found an economical way to dispose of the PFAS that we remove from through the use of the MyX resin. And so currently we don't know what to do with the PFAS. So, everything's on a standstill because the government's saying you got to get it down to this level and you got to get down that level. And I don't think anybody really knows what's going to happen on that. But that's kind of another in the process type things that's going on in the water industry.
Yeah, just tell us a little bit more about this corporation, IXOM, Craig, because they seem to be pretty. I mean, when I look at their website, I mean, they got a global reach. They're a big corporation out of the southern hemisphere, but obviously, through purchasing this corporation here in Dickinson, they're here in the American market. You're working for them and everything. Tell us a little bit about what your experience has been with them and how you feel they're going to be able to help operators in the American market.
Well, they're a big company. They're owned by an investment group out of Singapore called the Keppel Group, and so it's Phil Story's money owning stuff, and so then they own IXOM Watercare, and so we're part of IXOM Watercare. IXOM Watercare's head office is in Melbourne, and so every quarter we have a meeting with CEO currently Bryce Wolf, and so we. They're a big company. They own bituminous companies or asphalt companies. They own fragrances. They own the Twix candy bar. There's one flavor of chocolate that they own. They have some agriculture presence in Australia, but they're primarily named to fame over there is the chemicals in the water industry for the the chlorines and stuff in that nature, and so they're strong into that. They have about 80% of the market over there, and I also noticed that they have DEF. They make DEF and they deliver it to tankers and semi-loads of DEF to tankers. So they have some petroleum plant somewhere they build that, or they manufacture that. So you get exposure to it when they have these quarterly town hall meetings, and so it's a big company. The impact it's been, we also have an office in Denver. We've got employees that are working remotely in Chicago, North Carolina, south of Denver somewhere. Then we have about eight salespeople, regional managers across the United States and Canada. We've got 2 in Europe. We've got for our application, we have 1, I think, or 2 in Australia that's selling our product line, and I would think they would expect of us been a little bit further down the road with as far as the progress goes, but we've had profit. We've had profit all 5 years that we've been with them. Just that we got hit even during COVID. We still had those 2 years. We had a profit there. We were bought out in 2020, and the first couple of years were kind of pushing hard to get anything done, but we still made a profit. So yeah, we've been profitable every year since they bought us, and so we can't complain about that. The MyX resin is huge in the southeast. We've got a huge amount of presence down there. It's a lot of larger communities, 100,000, 200,000, with large MyX plants in their water treatment systems. Actually, instead of having just vessels, they have actual buildings that they use. So, but it's all good. It's all good. It's like anything else. Changes tough, but it's working its way out, and things are looking good. So, and then by the way, we got a guy in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. We got a guy in Milwaukee. Yeah, we've got a lot of people all over.
Well, that's really cool. I noticed that you got a video out on your website there, on your YouTube channel. I think it was on Instagram as well, but about a system that, an MIX system that IXOM Watercare helped with in Louisiana there, and those guys spoke very highly of the research that your company did before they came and put it in. Where is their research department where they do that? Is that Denver, Craig?
We've got full engineering staff for the MIAC side of it is in Denver. One chemical engineer there, and we've got 4 or 5 engineers in Denver, and then that's their application more than research. The research are all in Melbourne, Australia.
So that's a really good amount of backup. It sounds like, I mean, from what those that water system down in Louisiana was saying, they were pretty happy with that. So that sounds really, really cool. So now, Craig, you're going to be retiring here. Are you going somewhere else? You're going to go somewhere warm to lie in the sun, or what are you going to do?
No, I'm going to go lie on the beach at Lake Kakawea. How's that sound?
There you go. Well, I tell you, you'll be in good company. There's a lot of people who get some really good fishing up there. So that's pretty awesome. Well, we're going to miss seeing you at these water events around the state. I am, for sure. So
Bryce Hill's my new replacement. So I've had him in his 3rd week of training. I've had him. So he's doing well.
Yeah, I was real happy to meet Bryce, so that's good. I think he's going to do good. So I really appreciate you coming on here and talking about these things. I'm still working on getting one of your mixers into one of the systems that I'm responsible for here. We'll see if we can get that done yet. I was impressed with the product, at least when I saw it, so we'll see if we can keep going on that, Craig. But it's really, really good to have you on here, and I just want to thank you for coming on and for your services to the water industry, because I've learned stuff listening to you, so I appreciate it. Thank you.
Sounds very good. Thanks for calling, John.
You have been listening to Water, the podcast, with filmmaker and municipal operator John Parsons. Subscribe via your favorite podcast platform. If you'd like to be a guest, or if you need a film or video to communicate your message, find us at waterthepodcast.com.